and today's letter of the day is D is for dummy, as in, which dummy didn't put the damn memory card in before they decided to start recording. And the weather from Lancaster, Buffalo, New York today is wet, as in very wet. They were actually correct with the forecast. We didn't do too well until about 3 o'clock, and then it started to come down like no tomorrow. Well, good afternoon there. We're back again for round number 2, and yes, I keep looking at my phone, I'm sorry. I keep waiting for the little thingy to go on. A bit slow on the caffeine today, so excuse me while I imbibe. Good stuff, good stuff. So it's been a week, and I thought I'd go round for another go, see if we can get any more people to view. And I'm looking out the window again, and the sun is starting to come out and it's brightening up. As you would have seen, we had some rain, and now it's getting a bit better. The weatherman apparently are not bad. And as you can see, I decided to wear one of my shirts. I was wearing one last week, but or British one I should say, but I kind of cut it off as I was too close. So I thought I'd wear this. Oh, before we get too far, we've just come back from the latest Pirates of the Caribbean film, and it wasn't bad, it wasn't brilliant. I can see where they mean that what's-his-face was phoning it home sometimes. Yeah, it was a bit formulaic, but you know what? I've spent worse times in a cinema, so it wasn't that bad. And if you're going and you haven't seen it yet, did you remember to stay all the way to the end? And the question there is, did he or didn't he? There you go. It's very much of a Blade Runner moment, depending on which version you've seen. So this week I thought I'd drink some more and talk about a bit more of my time here in the US. Namely, what I like about the US, which is interesting. The US is very similar and yet very different from the United Kingdom. And remembering I was a London boy, big city, lived in the suburbs, so I had easy access to Epping Forest and places in Essex, and going up into Essex and Norfolk and Sudbury and all that kind of idea. The tube system. So I used that for work. I used to work in the centre of London. I worked for a big bank for a while. I also worked for a big supermarket for a while. So I had the pleasure of both, the external and the internal. When I came here, so I liked the size of the place. Now Buffalo has a interesting mindset in that it thinks it's a city, and at its best moment in time it has about 300,000 people in it, which in terms of the UK is no more than a large town. We Brits, we expats laugh about that. But if you think about that, and then you think about the size of New York, the size of New York is at least the size of London, if not more. But then if you think about it, the size of the UK can be dropped into at least 5 separate states and be lost. The United States is huge beyond compare and beyond ability to comprehend. And I can, in that respect, begin to understand and believe that people have never left the United States, because they don't need to. The US has it. It even has its own islands. They're called Hawaii, and that's where we'll be going in a few months, if we ever book anything for it. So it's huge. I mean, there's just no comparison. And you think about England and how England behaves, and then you suddenly go, no, actually you are a pissant little small place. The people. Now, you have your stereotypical Americans, a big, loud, brash, fat, whatever, me, basically. And then you have nice people. You have your everyday people. One of the first experiences I ever had was one of my few trips to Orange County in California. South Coast Plaza, I believe. And just watching the people and how the people behave. I took the opportunity of not saying anything, because you open your mouth and this comes out, and then they're like, oh, where are you from, blah, 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 blah. I wanted to see how they behaved to themselves. And that was the other one of the other things, was they would those that I saw were well behaved. They were polite, they were pleasant, they were a kind of approachable people that I wanted to be around. the UK is, or at least the areas, London, whatever, is a bit stuffy. Your average Brit's a bit difficult to approach and talk to, and in that respect I am an average Brit. But I found that I liked the Americans. They were more open, they were easier to talk to. But the other opportunity that I liked here are the job opportunities. Now, admittedly, I've had 2 employers, but I've had 3 positions here. And I did move around internally. I got hold of a job not long before I left, a couple of years. But I also found that there is a lot more opportunity, especially if you're free to move. If you're okay to travel, you can up sticks and go to Texas and go to Kansas and go to LA or San Francisco, or go east and go to Boston, go down to Maryland. And then along with money comes taxes, or lack of. Now, the Americans like to say that they're overtaxed, and I don't really think they are. I was around, coming up on the 35% tax bracket, just around the time I left. And actually that year, the year I left, 2001, if I hadn't have left, I would have to have ended up getting an accountant and start doing taxes. So here, the primary difference here is that everybody has to have an accountant or has to file taxes. So that's different. But the thing I do like is that the taxes are less. And then the weather. Now, I am British, so I do talk about the weather. I don't talk about it very often, but we do talk about it. Beautiful, glorious weather. Now, Buffalo was a bit like England in the sense that, although it does occasionally get a glorious, blasting hot 6-8 weeks of pure sun type summers, most years are not like that. But overall, the US's weather is a lot nicer than the UK's. But it was glorious weather and it was fantastic. And of course, with heat comes the need for cooling. Well, roll forward into early 2000s, and we still didn't have it. Running around in the middle of the summer on the tube system was, oh my word, sweaty, sweaty, sweaty. One of the good things about being here is the air conditioning. Most places have AC. Most office blocks are AC'd, and that's glorious. You know, AC heat. I'm checking my little list here because I wrote some stuff out. Housing. So the UK is old. 900, 1,000, 1,200, whatever years of history and housing. There are buildings that were in the Magna Carta and are still there. Old buildings. And they have new buildings. The Shard, for example. They have more older housing, so there's less opportunity to have air conditioning. Now, we also lived in an old house in our previous one, and it was built in the 50s, and they consider that to be an old house. So this is a new house. So we had the opportunity to have air conditioning, and it's glorious. The house reaches 75 degrees, you turn the AC on, there's cool air being pumped out, and it just drops it a couple of degrees, and life is good. So yeah, I like quite a few things in the US. I've liked my opportunity. I like the fact that I don't have to pay the huge way of taxes. I like the fact that on the salary I earn, at the time that I bought it back in 2004, I could afford to buy my own place. I do have the opportunity to move around if I so wish to. Right now we're quite happy where we are. And I like the fact that we paid for this on our salaries, could afford a brand new house. So it's good to be here. And I've been watching some of the stuff going on in the UK about Brexit and the election, all the rest of it. And it's really good to be here. And it's a place that I like. I've been here that length of time, and every time I go back, I don't see what there is that would make me want to come back. So I've decided that I'm staying, obviously. I'm married and all the rest of it. And I've decided that I'm waffling on, and now would probably be a good time to end this and hope that I can cut together the couple of pieces and cut out a few things. And so with that, I'll bid you adieu, and we'll see you next week. Ta-ta!